to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm your host, Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Well, here we are, another episode of Behind the Dreamers, and wherever you are tuning in today, we are super thrilled to have you here. I've got an amazing guest on today, and I'm excited to chat with him. He helps leaders achieve physical excellence and mental discipline to reign supreme in life. And so I'm going to have him talk about that today. But before we get him on here, I do want to do a quick shout out to our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Productions. Need to add excitement to your YouTube videos or some expert hands for editing? Look no further. Walt Mills is the solution you've been searching for. Walt is not only your go-to guy for spicing up content, he's the force behind a thriving film production company with numerous titles in the pipeline. Always on the lookout for raw talent, Walt is eager to collaborate on film and internet productions. With a background deeply rooted in entertainment and promotion, Walt Mills leverages years of skills to give you the spotlight you deserve. Want to learn more about Walt and his work? Head on over to waltmillsproductions.net and let your content shine.
Okay, and so now that we've done that, Taylor Ros, he is a former professional track athlete who is now a gym owner, an online coach. He continues to coach elite athletes and anyone who wants to optimize their mind and body for performance and optimize health. He's trained a world champion, MMA fighter, USA track and field athletes, professional basketball players, and busy professionals looking to achieve their best in business and life. So Taylor, welcome to the show. So excited to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's going to be so much fun. I'm excited to chat with you and dig in a little bit to your history and your mindset and how you're transferring that all into your work these days. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's always going to be fun. This is a great platform that you got going on here with helping people achieve their dreams and everything. So I'm excited.
Thank you. Yeah, we have fun on here. You know, that I think the best part for me is getting to meet you guys and learning about your stories and kind of, you know, what you're doing and how you're making a difference in the world. Because I think it's so fun that, you know, we hear so much negative stuff out there all the time. And I think it's great when we can hear success stories where people are doing great things in their community and with the people that they're working with.
Right, 100%. Yeah, that's especially with everything that's been happening in the last 5 years or so. Got to focus in on the positivity, and you get caught up in the negativity sometimes, and you forget about the good things that are happening in your life, and the negative will take over. So yeah, we've got to shed the light on the positive because that's what's going to start compounding if you focus on it.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get this thing started then. I want to start off by you tell us what Crown Athletics is all about, what you're doing now out there in the world.
Cool. So Crown Athletics actually has a little bit of a funny story. It actually started off as an apparel brand to bring awareness to track and field. Track and field has got some of the hardest working athletes in the world, but in the States, no recognition, no financial help from them. And I wanted to bring awareness to every runner out there through just apparel. Well, I didn't know how to market or do any of that online e-com stuff at the time. So I shut it down like, oh, this isn't working. Then the pandemic came around and people started reaching out to me for online coaching, which I had done in 2012, but same thing, didn't know how to do advertising or anything. So now Crown Athletics is an online platform where I coach people to optimize their overall health, performance if they're an athlete. But in my eyes, everybody's an athlete, a high performer at some level, right? So what we do is we look at your big picture of life to figure out if there's any missing areas or buckets that we need to fill to start adding more value to you, or maybe subtracting things. So we look at the fitness side of things. We look at the nutrition. I do deeper stuff with some athletes and clients, blood work, and then obviously the mindset of achieving great things. And of course, with you, the dreamers, like you got to have that dream, but you got to put it into action. And if you just think about it all the time, nothing's going to happen. So I help people create action steps through their fitness, nutrition, and mindset. And that's what Crown Athletics is
well,
now.
You said a lot of really neat things, Taylor. One, I love that you were able to make, I don't like the word pivot, but you kind of did that. You transitioned and evolved your brand. I like the title, by the way. I think it's fun. I mean, it's different. You know what I mean? That's why I'm like, what is Crown Athletics? Tell us a little bit about that. And I think that's the kind of stuff that catches people's eyes, right? And I think, you know, I always talk about paths being nonlinear, and sometimes we sort of go into something and we realize, I don't really know how to do that, but there's a part of this that I like, and I kind of evolve it into the next step. And so I really love that you kind of pulled in, like, and you can talk a little bit about, I'd love to, dive into a little bit about your background in running and all of that, because this is obviously shaped who you are today and what you're doing. Right. And so I love that you just, in all of this, have been able to kind of morph this and evolve it. The other thing I want to mention is that I like that you're also taking the coaching a little bit deeper, because I feel like this is sort of how I do mine, even though I'm not doing fitness coaching. It's funny, my background is in fitness. I was aerobics instructor many years, so I have a lot of background. I was a marathon runner, a lot of background in there. I studied a lot of stuff, but I kind of do the same thing with my clients. It's like, it's not just about like coaching on the surface. It's like, we got to go a little deeper so we can optimize you. In my world, it's helping entrepreneurs. So how do I help the entrepreneur be an effective leader and sustain their lifestyle, their business long term, right? Like not immediate, these little quick step fixes. How do we do it long term? So I really like that you're looking at this more from it's not just about, let me just teach you an exercise routine and hopefully that's going to stick. No, we got to look a little deeper at the individual, who they are, what they're doing, like blood, all that stuff we got to take into account because everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah, that's 100% what it is. And through growing it, like how it kind of happened was the fact that I selfishly got my education to try to perform at the highest level possible. I wanted to learn everything about my body and performance and how to optimize it to make sure I was able to get to that level that I wanted. I wanted to go to the Olympics. I wanted USA across my chest. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but I did get to train with the top in the world. World record holders, Olympic gold medalists, USA champions. That was my training group at the top. So if we back up a little bit, I actually thought I was going to go to college for basketball. I was totally in love with basketball growing up. And in high school, I had a little falling out with the coach and decided I wasn't going to play my senior year. And that's when track took off. So senior year of high school, I ran the 400 for the first time. That's a wrap. Walked on to Cal State Fullerton, was able to make the team. I actually had a knee surgery, so I was out the first year. So I had a lot of hurdles to overcome. And there's many things that happened that could have prevented me from pursuing more, but eventually got through that. Became a scholarship athlete while getting my education in kinesiology, strength and conditioning, and nutrition. I had another year of eligibility. Got into the master's program. Why not? It's going to get paid for, and I'm going to learn more about performance. So did that, competed one more year, and that's when I got to step on to the elite level. So I stayed with my coach one more year in 2016. So that was an Olympic year. That was one of my best years running. And at that time, I had already started coaching other elites and other people in general, just because of what I had accomplished on the track. Plus, they knew my education level. So fast forward to 2021, that's when I retired. But my latest group was with world record holder Sydney McLaughlin in the 400-meter hurdles. Her brother was a teammate of mine who's top 10 in the world for 400-meter hurdles. Michael Norman, Rye Benjamin, top names in the industry. And my coach was Joanna Hayes, who's still a family friend and mentor of mine. And I got to see the mindset that goes into the highest performers in the world.
Yeah.
They're not much different than us. Like as an athlete, almost all athletes have that same mentality. The difference is showing up every single day when you don't really want to, and just creating those daily disciplines. And that's what I help people with Crown now. Like, yeah, everybody can have a fitness routine. Everybody can have a diet to follow, but what's the purpose behind it? I don't just throw a plan at you and like, here you go, do it. You're not going to learn anything. I loved my education, so I'm trying to instill that in everybody else. Whether you decide to work with me or not, or if it's short term or long term, like I want you to be able to take this with you for life, 5, 10, 15 years from now. And that's how I coach, because we're not taught a lot about how to stay fit, how to eat right in school, unless you get your education for that. So I have the burden of trying to share that with the world and take people up to the highest level possible that they see for themselves with what I have to provide. And that's essentially what Crown Athletics became.
Yeah, I like it. Yesterday, different story. I was at I told you before we got on here, I was at the chiropractor's office, and the place that I go is here. I'm in Dallas. And I'm not far from where the Cowboys, not the stadium, but where Jerry Jones has like the stuff is over there. And there's a performance chiropractic center over there. And I went in there for the first time last week, didn't realize that's probably where they go to perform. It's a nice place in there, but it was interesting because the chiropractor that I met with, he just moved here, I think, from South Carolina, and he was working with athletes there And it was interesting because he was telling me yesterday, he said, well, we want to get you fixed, right? But then we want to teach you some preventative things so that when you get in this again, that hey, you can do this. And funny enough, you would believe in all the years that I taught and I've been exercise. I pretty much, today I took a little breather because my back was hurting, but I pretty much exercise every day. Not like you, I'm not a runner like you, but I have done running. And you would think I would know these things, like, right, how to like keep certain, but you don't realize that you start sort of kind of using the same muscles all the time and you don't use some others and other things get lax and that kind of thing. But I like the point to all of this is I really like his approach is that, look, we don't want to keep you in here forever. We want to get you fixed, right? We want to help you get right. But then let us teach you something that you can sustainably do outside of our presence when you leave out there. And that's kind of the same I'm hearing from you. And it's kind of the same way however you want to say it, how I operate with my clients is that great. If somebody wants to stay with me forever, that's fine. But I really would like you. It would make me feel better if I got you up and running and being able to sustainably function outside of that,
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think most people that decide to stay long term that kind of have everything going, whether it's fitness or business or whatever it might be,
right?
It's who we are. They like being a part of the community. And
I
that
agree.
is another aspect. Yeah. So
yes.
If you have a great personality, you're really caring and you show a lot for your clients, they're going to want to stick around because they feel supported because they might not have it wherever they are. So me service wise, like I try to over deliver as much as possible. And I love building relationships. Like I'm an introvert at heart, but like with my clients, after we break that barrier, man, I'm your best friend. Let's hear about everything. Let's have a good time and also get you good results. So it's really a relationship business.
Yeah. Well, you touched upon a lot of really good things there. We could probably talk forever about that because the relationships are important, but also you said something else and now I'm drawing a blank. Something else you brought. Oh, the community. Creating the community. And yes, I agree with you because people do like to be part of community. So we're not saying, I don't think I was in, I know you're not either. We weren't saying that, hey, if you are a client of ours and we get you there, we want you to leave. No, if you like being in the community and working with us, yes. And I do have some clients. I have I talk about her all the time, a young gal. She's been working with me for 4 years. And I think at this point, I'm really just a mentor we've gone over everything, and I use her as kind of my little protege that I talk about because she had her best year this year in business. But for the first year, we grinded a lot. We talked about a lot of the same things over and over and over. And then finally, she started implementing these things and realizing how much they were impacting her business. And now she's in a place where she's doing really well. She's been able to travel and, to different places in the world and do things and, and live this lifestyle. And so I do think there's something to be said about, building the relationships. And if people like working with you, they like that support, that mentorship, if they like being part of community, then yes, that's important too.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And I think that goes with anything we do. It doesn't have to be like anything business related or fitness, just like in life, just create connections with people and give value to them. And it could be as simple as a smile and hey, good morning. Like realistically, that's how I try to operate now because there is a lot of negativity out there. But when you really connect with somebody, whether they're with you or not, like, that's what we need. And that's a huge part of something I try to make a cognizant effort every single day to do.
Yeah. So you kind of rolled into this, which I think is kind of cool because you didn't really go from like, like you're this athlete, then you go into this, I'm going to design this brand, and then I'm going to go into this coaching. So you've weathered through sort of this whole little evolving entrepreneur journey. I would love to know, besides the not getting the marketing part, the beginning part, and having to evolve into the new, maybe another challenge that you faced going in, because I think entrepreneurs, a lot of times when people are listening to this, and I always say these in this show, because I think sometimes they look at somebody like you and they think, oh my gosh, Taylor's just like rocking it. And he got here. No, you did not. We know you worked hard because there's no way you were an athlete. You worked hard, right?
Yeah. So
it's no different in entrepreneurship. There are struggles within entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah. So Crown is actually only one business that I have now. It's two. So when I graduated, I got a job as a personal trainer at a big box gym. And then my dad had an opportunity to open up our own facility in LA. I took the leap of faith. I knew nothing about business. I was the training guy. Like I hated the corporate side of Crunch and doing the selling and all the advertising, all that stuff, right? not my thing. So we're 6.5 years now in with our brick and mortar, which I implement Crown as well, just because the hybrid model works really well. I want to provide a better level of service, but I knew nothing about business. It was head into the ground, the trenches for almost 4 years before we started to develop traction. So entrepreneurship is not for the faint of hearted. And a lot of people kind of glorify it online and have this false sense of success that they always show off. Man, it sucked for years. I'm telling you, years. And even with my online brand, I had like 2 clients for like a year and a half because I didn't know how to market or anything at the time. I didn't push myself out. It was only referrals. And then now I jump into a brick and mortar where overhead's way more. You're starting to develop a team. You have to have company culture. You have to make sure that the members are taken care of. Like, there's so much that goes into it. And I'm not somebody who will try to come up with every single answer. If I don't know it, I will either try to find out or tell somebody, hey, I don't know, let me reach out to somebody. I had to do a lot of that with business. And even then, I still try to learn a lot myself. But I was paying the ignorance tax with time, right? So I have mentors for that now. And that's what really accelerates things. So you do it for businesses right now. I help people with the fitness side of things. Like, when I need accountability, I'm going to find somebody now, or that extra knowledge. Even on the fitness side of things, I hire somebody to do my programs because I will subliminally not do what I don't want to do in my program. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I need an unbiased opinion. And entrepreneurship is one of those things where you need an outside eye, because you might think you're doing everything perfect, and one sentence could totally transform your life from somebody else.
That's good, Taylor. And thanks for sharing that. You're so right. I was talking to a guy, I think it was yesterday, with a different company. He's got an AI business, and it was for a different, I guest host on another show for somebody else called the Makers Bar. And we talk, it's a lot of CEOs on that company, which are fun because I get a little bit, a lot of them have, larger teams that they're working with and stuff, but some of them are starting out, and it's kind of fun to hear their stories and where they're coming from. But he has an AI platform that does like stuff on the AI, and for like social media and stuff. It creates posts and all that, which I'm thinking, talk about delegate. Well, then the week before that, I talked to a guy about automating and delegating. Long story short, both of these guys, it was so funny because the one I was talking to at Bimoto this week was like, look, if you're not willing to take on, assume that you're going to have some risk. And I'm summing up what he said because I don't remember the exact words, but basically he's like, get a job. You don't want to do this, So, and the other one was talking about his story, and it was the same thing. He was talking about automating, and he had these people working for him, and it wasn't going well. And he's like, listen, we're just not having fun. This isn't working out. We got to change something, And so I think that, so many takeaways in these messages are that, yeah, this is not for the faint of heart. You're going to have a lot of ups and downs, and you're going to lose money, and you're going to make money, but the win is in when you keep grinding at this and keep persisting, right? That's part of this whole thing. And I think there is a lot of self-satisfaction that comes in doing the entrepreneur journey, because it is like running a race. It is like doing something that, the mindset is still there, that you have to have the persistence and the tenacity and the grit and all of those things. And that's why I like getting even people like you guys on here that are athletes, because it's so fun. Military too. It's so fun to pick y'all's brains, because you realize it's the same thing. It's a different sport.
Yeah. And the cool thing is that it took me some time to realize, but once I retired, like I'm still competitive. I'm still an athlete at heart. So I picked some goals to hit that were still physical, but now I've been able to transcribe how I felt on the track and competing into business. So, and it's not all just a numbers game. It's more on the service side of things. Like, I want to be that guy. Like, hey, no, Coach Taylor is like, he's it. I want to be the best coach that people ever have. Right. So I've been able to push over the passion of competing for a better time into servicing other people. And that is actually what gives me the most fulfillment now. And I know the more that I do that, the more I'll grow as a coach. And that's what excites me, because every time I put a smile on somebody's face, I know I'm winning. And that is my gold medal now. Like, I don't care about racing on the track. I'm older. I got my family now. I can do stuff for fun, but my competition is looking at the business and how to make it as best as possible. And that's super exciting for me now.
Yeah, it's fun. It is. And I really like that you're talking. You've spent one of the resonating things I keep hearing from you is your customers and the building. And you mentioned earlier, about creating the culture within your organization, at the gym. And I think that that is very important, because I think that culture not only trickles down to the people you're working with, but it really goes down into your customer service and how you treat patients, your clients. They kind of are patients a little bit, right?
Yeah.
A little bit are your clients, your fans. I feel like that culture really, it starts at the top and it goes down and spreads out everywhere. So
Yeah, and it's amazing. I was actually just in Santa Cruz this last weekend for he's a coach of ours, but I've also been coaching him for professional MMA fighting for the past 6 years.
awesome.
We had like 8 to 12 members drive or fly up to Santa Cruz to support him. And that
Wow.
was just a testament to the community that we had, because it was a 6-hour drive or a couple-hour flight. Like, I was just in shock. This is amazing. And mostly for him, because it was him that was being supported. But developing culture in the company is not easy, especially with how I work so remote. Or like I'm only in the evenings now, and everybody also has other jobs, like having
Right.
team meetings and getting everybody together on the same page. It's really difficult. I don't have it all figured out still. Like, I don't want anybody to get that misconception.
Yeah.
And it's always a learning process. But the support that you have in your community for both yourself, your staff, and your members or clients, whoever it might be, that's just going to keep you rooted down and keep plugging forward.
Entrepreneurs, are you ready to level up your leadership skills? Tune in now for an exclusive offer designed just for you.
This is my time.
Did you know 63% of consumers prefer businesses aligned with their values? Recognizing your core values isn't just vital for business growth, it's the bedrock of effective leadership.
Away and the game's on the line. There ain't no
Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or an aspiring creator, identifying your core values is a key step in constructing the framework of a successful leader, enabling you to lead authentically, expand your business, and live life on your terms.
never settled on play. Putting the kettle to flame. I go 100 all day. Foot on the pedal, no brakes. 10, 9, paid all my dues, waited in line. 8, 7.
Are you ready to access tools to kickstart your leadership journey? Unlock a treasure trove of insights and get your free resources at www.linktree/Jennifer Loading. Take that crucial first step toward realizing your leadership aspirations and elevate your leadership game today.
Ready to shine. Brighter than all of the
Yeah. I feel like it's, one of the universal things I hear. I will tell you, like, you'll sit with me long enough. I remember so many stories about people that come on the podcast. I can tell you so many stories, but I had a guy on here, CEO of Learn It. He was drafted for the Atlanta Braves, and it was kind of different story. He was going to play ball, and then he went to Pepperdine and he trained under Andy Lopez. And I think he got injured, and then he was like 22, and he was trying to figure out what he was going to do because he wanted to play baseball, And so then his dad, I guess, had a company and it done very well. And so he went to work with his dad and moved up. He worked it and became CEO of the company. And one of the things I admire about him, listening to him, is that one of the biggest things he talks about is culture and being and developing leaders and helping. And that's what his company's about, is they do like leadership training and stuff. But one of the things kept talking about, kind of kept resonating, was this idea of, how do you create culture? And it was really about communication. It was really it came down to, that's what he kept coming back to, was really communication. And one of the things that stuck with me, and I kind of repeat this everywhere I go, is that we had talked about, placing people in the right positions within a company, because some people are obviously better in other positions, but sometimes we hire them in, right, because we think they fit there. And then we get hung up on, they got to be right there, and they may not be growing there. And so we kind of talked about, like, you got to get the culture right, because a couple of things. One, you can recruit people if they have similar values and train them, but you can't train people that don't have the similar values and buy into the culture. It's too hard to fix that and clean that up. But also, back to the communication, was that we had talked about, when putting people in the right place, you also have to know when to let people go. And that should be communicated. It should never be a surprise to them, because if you're having open dialogue, then they know what they're not doing well, And so that was a couple of things that really stuck out in that conversation. And I'm like, when I think about it, it really just all comes down to, you don't have to have everything right. I don't think you have to have it perfect. It just really comes down to communication.
Yeah, communication is huge. It's talked about a lot, but I don't think people truly understand what communication is. It's body language, it's your dialect, it's your tone, it's how you deliver. It's so much more to it, and it could make or break an entire organization. My wife worked in a very corporate style company. And when she got hired on, her boss was like, there's drama here. Just watch out for it. And she's like, what? No, everybody's great. A few years in now, it's like, oh, there we go. There it is. And
There
it's
it
just
is.
like, you just got to be good with it. Put a smile on your face and do what you need to do and make sure that the job is done while maintaining the culture that you've developed or been taught from your leadership roles to keep it going. Because otherwise it can it'll literally destroy you, yourself, and a company. Like if you're the entrepreneur, really got to watch out for that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too. And once that stuff starts, it's kind of like a cancer, it just sort of kind of spreads out. And and I think it's the bigger the company gets, the harder it gets to reel that in. It's one of the things like when I talk to like new entrepreneurs that are kind of getting going, I always like to have them really focus on their core values, like get that ironed out and really develop what does that look like for your organization, because how you view them, they're going to be a little bit different for how you're people, but you've got to still stay within your parameters, but also make it adaptable and don't compromise on that, because once you start bending on that, then that's when it goes down. And once you have that set, it's so hard to backpedal the other direction, so.
Yeah, that's a tough one that you got to instill from day one. But that's something I've thought about too, like as a company grows, when do all those big shifts really start happening? And I was just talking to somebody about it recently. Like, when did Jeff Bezos become the founder and operator of Amazon to now what, millions of people employed?
Yeah, right.
Whoa, that just blows my mind thinking about it. But he literally started in his garage, just like so many other entrepreneurs. It's just when does that barrier get busted of now it's this huge C-level type corporation, and how you instill everything and your SOPs and all that, which I try to relate to my fitness side of things too. It's there's certain levels for people to hit as I scale them up. It can't just be whoa, there's everything. Here we are as a company, or here's what we do on my fitness side of thing, and just join in, hop on in. They'll what's going on. So there's all these weird things that I think about both on the fitness and the business side of things, because I love them both and they have a lot of similarities in a lot of ways, and trying to marry them up.
Yeah. And everybody, it's so different for everybody, because I feel like, everybody arrives at different times. And I think it's when you get to that place where you're just in your flow, like you've got the rhythm, like you're no longer, I don't want to say you're not working, because you're still working, but you get in a place. It's kind of like I look at this podcast and I laugh about it, because my original show, just to show you, started in October of 2019. We started it right before the pandemic. And I laugh about it now because those episodes, you can find them, by the way. If you want to go back and look at them, go check them out, because you're going to get it. You'll get a laugh at it. I always say it's great evidence to, if you do something long enough, you can get better and you can keep working at it. But we were so new. The gal and I that started had never done podcasting before. We were both manhandling computers at the time and trying to shuffle this. And even the interviewing and the process by which we were having these conversations was even hilarious. And I look at it now and I think I'm in a place now where I can pretty much get on a podcast and I can rev that thing up and we're just going to go, and I don't need to prep that much. Whereas back then it was a lot of prepping. And I mean, I do have to prep, pull off y'all's information and get familiar with who you are a little bit, so I know that I'm not just, hey, Taylor, what do you do? But I think you get into your rhythm and your flow. And then I think things sort of start to naturally evolve if you stick with it long enough.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's when I first started guesting on podcasts, my first few, I would get nervous. I'm getting butterflies. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? And I think that happens with anything new that you do. And then once you get into that flow, that's the great place to be. But don't get stuck in the same flow. You've obviously grown a whole lot with this whole program itself. And that's where having somebody or a partner to help you push to that next level. So there's always a little bit of discomfort. And that's how I like to operate. Get a little bit outside of that comfort zone. And doing the podcast at first was wild to me. I told you, introvert. My first few, I was like, oh, I don't know this person at all. We did a 5-minute little call or something beforehand. And I'm trying to open myself up more to the world through that type of platform, I guess. the actual podcasting itself, and I'm like, I want to have my own in the future, but that's going to be a whole nother hurdle in the
You
future.
should definitely do that. I think it'd be fun. I think a lot of those podcasts are really good. The ones where athletes get on and talk about stuff. I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there, but if it makes you feel any better, I don't ever like to say I know how you feel, but I probably had some of those emotions when I first started, because honestly, like, I joke, and they have heard me, the people that listen to this show have heard me say this like probably so many times, but I took public speaking in college, and I remember coming out, I had to do an impromptu speech with note cards, and I was like, I will never, the day I remember, I can tell you, I can still picture sitting down from that speech. I have no idea what I talked about, but I can remember walking back. I can remember the person that talked to me, and thinking that day, I was like, I will never talk in front of a group of people ever again. Like, I will never do this again. But I was telling someone the other day that when I was a kid, because I don't know when you were born, but I'm a 70s, 80s kid. We didn't have all this internet stuff. So we had these little boom boxes. We had to put our little cassette tape in them and hit the record button. I would record myself doing like little presentations, like little things, like recording like I was going to talk on the radio or little shows or whatever. And I forgot that I had done that. Like, I had forgotten that. And then somewhere along the line, I just got really like shy, and I'm kind of introverted. People think I'm both. I can be either way depending on the circumstance, but I like my quiet time. And so you mix introversion with shy. It's just not really a good picture at all. And so I swore I was never going to talk. And then I laugh about it now, because I tell people that story and they're like, there is no way. And I'm like, yes, it happened. It's a true story. Don't make it up.
Yeah,
So
I can relate to that too. I had a similar story with public speaking. I forget what class it was in college, but I remember getting up there, and this is where I started to have a little bit more mindset shifts myself. I was like, I'm not going to see these people again after this class. Screw it. Let me just talk. And then now, like, I've gone to 3 weddings where I've been thrown into doing speeches.
oh, wow.
I never prepare. I just talk. I can't do preparations, because that's what screws me up the most. Like, just flow. That's the biggest thing. It's just flowing. And it's crazy how both you and I, introverted, shy, how much we've grown from it, and to be able to verbalize what's on our mind without the all the time. Because, man, I used to be stumbling all over my words.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it gets easier. It does. And I'm not saying, you probably know that it still doesn't mean you don't have nervous moments doing it. And like when we recorded this, these guys aren't even going to see this, but when you were there, you saw it. When I went to record this, my mind just went blank. Like, what am I saying? Like, it happens,
Yeah.
I have learned to just laugh. But you said something just a minute ago that I think was really good, when you said you realize that you're not going to see these people again. And I realize people listen to this again, but my thinking is all the time, when you do this kind of stuff, you're braver than many people will ever be, right? Because many people will never pick up a microphone. They will never put their face on a camera. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that you're doing something that a lot of people will never do. And it takes courage to be vulnerable and authentic and throw yourself in front of people and be okay with people not liking you.
Yep, 100%. And the people that do listen again, guess what? They're your supporters. They're not going to talk trash on you, right? So they're there to continue the journey with you. And that's just how I've kind of gone about everything. Like, if somebody doesn't like something I say, or if I screw up and they make fun of me, they're not part of my community, right? They're not meant to be there. So now it's just like, hey, just be me, share. And the people that want to see that success and growth and learn from it are going to ride or die.
Hey, this was awesome, Taylor. You know what's funny is I never know where these episodes are going to migrate to. Like, I have no idea where the conversation's ever going to go. And that's what's great. We talked about that because I just let it flow. The only thing I have scripted is the beginning and the end of this thing and the little ad thing that goes in there that is scripted. The rest of it is we let it flow as it goes. But I want to know from you, because anybody listening to this right now is going to go, man, this was like, Taylor said a lot of really cool things here. But any other maybe advice to somebody maybe going into the fitness arena? Because I know this is an area for a lot of people. They want to get fit. They want to, they want to look better. They want to feel better. Maybe where they could start, other than calling you. They need to call you, but
right. The biggest thing is just, if you're thinking about it, this is kind of a mindset that I have as well. It's like, if you have something in your head that's telling you to change, stop thinking about it and create some level of action. And if it's fitness, there's 2 components to it. It's going to be the fitness, like the physical side, or the nutrition side. Take one action step that day. Don't keep delaying it. Whether it's learning about a new nutrition plan, I don't like to say diets, right? But learn a little bit more about nutrition, because it is hard. There's a lot of misinformation online. But on the other end of the spectrum, physical, if you're literally day one, never worked out, get outside and walk. I don't care if it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes. It'll start to compound and build. And that's where you could actually start to get the momentum to building on to your overall fitness journey. And when you feel like you hit that roadblock, then maybe it's time to reach out to somebody to see how they could help further it, educate you a little bit more, and give you that accelerated growth through education and guidance. So it's literally just putting something into action. Just take a step. Just put the faith in yourself, stop the self-limiting beliefs, and just make a step.
No, this is good. And I always say this too, just do one step with where you are, with what you have in that moment, because the hardest part is the step, right? It's like taking the step. And sometimes I think people they think it needs to be a monumental step. And sometimes, no, it doesn't. It needs to be a step. You can build up to the monumental, but I think people a lot of times, and I don't know if your experience is like this, they set these unrealistic metrics on themselves that they know they can't meet, and they're going to fail. And then the only thing they do when they fail is they have a self-fulfilling prophecy of telling themselves now that I failed and I knew I couldn't do this, right? So I don't know about you, but it sounds like you're similar in your methodology. I always try to figure out how can we make that one step something that is a doable step, not crazy for you. And if it's very small, that's where we start. And we try to get that repeated action so we can build your confidence, because now you're getting the wins.
Yep, exactly. And that's why I start most people that I just meet online that need some level of help. Just walk, just get outside, go sit on the porch. Just literally that could be step one. Yeah, right? Exactly. Like that's super powerful in and of itself. And that one step could lead to driving to the gym one day. Just making it to the parking lot is cool. If you drive back home, no problem. Because I get walking through that door can be really intimidating. And I've worked out in a athletic facility pretty much my whole life. My first time going back to a 24-hour fitness after I retired, I got that eyes wide, like,
too many people.
I see what people are talking about now. So there's the intimidation of just walking through the door. Then it's, I don't know how to do anything. So I get on the cardio equipment and you just watch everybody and they're intimidated by the weights. I try to break down those barriers in the easiest way possible for people.
Very good. Well, I love it, Taylor. I think what you're doing is awesome. And if you're enjoying it, that's even better, because I think if we have the opportunity in life to be able to do the things that we enjoy doing and somehow make a living out of it, then it's a cool kind of thing. So good for you for being able to transfer your skills and help other people to live their optimized lives, right?
Thank you. Yeah,
that's what it's all about. So if our audience wants to get in touch with you, somebody may want to follow you. They may want to check out your work. Who knows? Maybe they're in the area and they want to check out your gym, whatever. Where do we want to send them so they can locate you?
You can find me on Instagram, Taylor Ros. And then my gym in LA, if you're local, Rise Athletics LA. We've got a whole lot of fun stuff there and an amazing community. And then a YouTube, just search my name, Taylor Ros. Those are the best ways to find me and connect.
Very cool. Well, we'll make sure when this gets out, my editor's really good about getting the website on the video, and you've set it in there so they'll get the audio part, but he puts it also on the video so that for our viewer, people can see it too. And we'll get you tagged in all the right places. So
cool. Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. This was really, really fun. I really enjoyed this.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you. It was fun conversation. We enjoyed it. So our listeners, we appreciate you. And we do want to say, if you enjoy our show, head on over to Apple, give us a review over there, hit the subscribe button on the YouTube so we can keep sharing all these awesome stories. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another, and we will see you next time.